welcome in everyone to the ninth episode of Crazy's Corner. The season is almost upon us. First game is tomorrow night. I know I'm excited, and I hope you guys are too. Thank you for joining. So let's get right into some news here. We've got a lot of news. Le'Veon Bell is signed with the Ravens practice squad. The belief is he will be elevated to the active roster once he's ready, acclimated to the playbook. And, when they think he's ready, they also signed Trenton Cannon as a depth piece right now to be the third running back on the roster. Obviously, in a run-heavy offense, you need to have the depth at the running back position because, as this team's proven, injuries can happen all over the place real quick with Justice Hill and J.K. Dobbins going down. But also in other Ravens news, Mark Andrews to a contract extension. It's a 4-year deal worth $56 million. That's average $14 million per year. And he's going to be making the most out of any tight end over the 4-year span. And then into our third story, we have the Latavius Murray cut. The Saints have cut Latavius Murray, which makes room for their new number 2 running back. We're going to be talking about it a little bit later. But I expect him to find a team fairly quickly. I think he's the best running back available on the open market. Another running back news real quick, Austin Eckler did not practice today with a hamstring injury. Hamstring is what kept him out of the season for most of last year. So this is definitely something to monitor. We don't know what the severity of it is right now. But if this is serious, hamstring injuries do tend to linger throughout the season. So this is definitely something to monitor. Do you guys think Austin Eckler is going to be able to play week 1? Let us know using the media app. The media app is a great way to interact with people in your fantasy football leagues, to ask questions to other people in the football community. And overall, it's just an amazing app that I love to use, and I think you guys should check it out. It's on the Google Play Store and the App Store. And now let's welcome in our guests for today's show. We have Will and Jeff with us again. Thanks for joining, guys.
Hey, man. Good seeing you, Zach.
Yeah, you too. And so let's talk about this discussion we have here. We are talking about players who we think are going to be high on the waiver wires next Wednesday because everyone's going to be wondering should I pick someone up now before this week's over so I can get ahead of the game. These are some guys that we think that you should pick up now because they're going to be hot commodities next week. Everyone we picked is under 50%. In various apps, whether it's ESPN or Sleeper. But let's start right off with my guy, Tony Jones, the New Orleans Saints backup running back. We saw them cut Latavius Murray to save some cap space, which leads me to believe that they fully believe in Tony Jones. Everything we've seen from Sean Payton before when they had Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara is that Kamara will play a majority of the downs, but that's like a 65% of the time. So that other 35% of the time is going to have to be a guy in there. It was Latavius Murray, but now that he's gone, I think it's going to be Tony Jones. And Latavius Murray was able to plug and play throughout a variety of last season when you needed a running back. So I think Tony Jones is going to see some more targets and some more touches than people are expecting him to this week. And I think that's going to lead to him being a high commodity on the waiver wire next week. So I think if he's available in your leagues right now after the Latavius Murray cut, I think you should definitely go pick him up. Do you guys have any thoughts on Tony Jones' situation?
Man, he's quick. Actually looked more explosive than Latavius Murray. Mm-hmm. Everybody just assumed that Latavius Murray was going to have that backup position until this guy just came out of nowhere. And now I'm looking at just the opportunities that it gives Sean Payton. They'll move Alvin Kamara around. They'll put him out there as a receiver and still have this dude in there as a back. I think it just gives him more opportunities just to, play mad scientist on offense like he does and like will need to do this year, with Jameis Winston under center. So
maybe the Saints can bring the wing formation back, right? Jameis and Kamara and Jones and
Taysom.
Yeah, I mean, imagine on a short yardage.
Yep.
That's kind of scary, It'll be interesting to see what Sean Payton does with all the toys he has right now.
Yeah, and Sean Payton and Tony Jones was undrafted last season. But during this preseason, as Jeff said, he showed great patience. And he really impressed the Saints staff. So Sean Payton can use these players. He's got a couple guys, Alvin Kamara, Taysom Hill, and now Tony Jones, that can really do whatever he wants them to do, whether it's catch out of the backfield, run the ball, and Taysom Hill can even throw the ball. So this offense is going to be interesting to watch. I don't think it'll lead to many wins, but you never know what you're going to see on any play, and I think that's what's going to make them interesting to watch and boost their ratings, and everyone's going to want to be in the stands when Jameis Winston throws a 50-yard bomb to Taysom Hill for a touchdown. You're going to want to see that.
Exactly.
So talking about another running back, the one who made room for Tony Jones, we're going to go to Will's guy here, Latavius Murray.
Yeah, look, I'm not sure where he's going to sign. If I was the Ravens, I would bring him in. I know they got Bell on their practice squad, but, I don't know how much is left in Bell's tank. And Murray, if you think about, what a safety net he becomes for some teams right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't understand with the Saints. So I will say this about the Saints. I was reading the story today. They said they cut him about an hour before the money came due.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't take a salary cut. So I guess it was a last-minute discussion in the GM and Peyton about that, because I think they could have traded Murray. It was only $2.8 million. There's a bunch of teams, I think, who would have easily gave up $2.8 million, would have absorbed that $2.8 million and gave up a fifth-round pick for Latavius Murray.
Yeah, I think it had to do with the Bradley Roby deal where they brought in Bradley Roby from the Texans.
Exactly.
So they need to make room for the salary. I think that's what they were doing. And they kind of, at that point, they had to make the decision where we got to get rid of him. And I don't think they had time to look for it. I think the Bradley Roby deal was kind of the last-minute aspect of that.
So if Latavius is available in your league and you have a spot, he's not a bad running back to stash right now and just see where he shakes out. Right? Because look, the Chargers have an issue. Kansas City's not clear yet either, truth be told. What are they? Both their running backs, lingering injuries. Minnesota, no one's really talking about it, but Madison got hurt in that final preseason game and he hasn't practiced. Mm-hmm. So there's no depth behind Dalvin Cook. And remember, Latavius played for the Vikings. So, and for $2 million, $1.5 million, shoot,
I'm even looking at the
deal right now.
I'm like, to me, he would be an upgrade over Kalen Balazs. Right now, McFarland out. They've got Snell, and then they've got Balazs, and that's it. They got rid of Jalen Samuels, too, or put him on the practice squad. So,
imagine the Rams.
What's that?
If you were the Rams, I would sign Latavius Murray.
Yeah. Add him to the Sonny Michel, Darrell Henderson, have a trio.
Yeah, why not?
Decent running backs. It's better than a duo of decent running backs.
Look, if I was Green Bay, I would sign him.
I don't know if I was Green Bay because I got Killian Hill, AJ Dillon, so I'd maybe stay out of there. But I do like the Rams, especially being in a division where the 49ers have proven you can have a really good run game with mediocre backs if you just switch them all out all the time. But I think LA is definitely a situation to monitor for the Chargers as well. Both LA teams could be in the market for Latavius Murray because they're going to need someone if Eckler actually has a serious hamstring injury. As I said before, hamstring injuries linger. So they have a couple guys in their backfield right now, but I'm not super excited about either of them. I think there's a couple other situations. Maybe the Texans bring in another veteran running back just because they've all seen them do crazy stuff like that previously.
Yeah, corner the market on running backs, on old running backs.
Old rundown running backs. But as you said, there's a bunch of teams where he's going to be an upgrade, especially at the backup running back position. You can't get much better than Latavius Murray, and he was productive in the Saints offense. I saw a lot of people that dropped Latavius Murray, and that's not really what I would be doing if I had Latavius Murray. I'd be stashing him for now, wait and see where he signs because he's going to sign. And after that, you can make your decision. If he goes to a team with great running backs, you drop him and pick someone else up. But if he goes to a team that's running back needy, I feel like he's a good fit.
It seems like he always has a 2 to 3 year staying power with the team. With the Raiders, he did that. With the Vikings, and now with the Saints, it's just like I wonder what it is, man. So maybe the next team they'll get that fresh start with him where he comes out, like a beast. Who knows?
Yeah, well, who knows? And then as we were talking about the LA situation, we'll run into Jeff's next guy, Justin Jackson in the backfield there with the Austin Eckler injury. So I'll let you take this one away here.
Yeah, and I think Austin Eckler owners in fantasy are just in a panic right now because they don't know if it's serious or not. Luckily, I got a little bit. I'll give him his plug. My guy Jay the Plug, who is actually friends with him, got some sort of notification that he was working off to the side, so saying that he wasn't practicing today. So that's the only thing that scares me. It's not. We don't know how serious it is, but hamstrings are one of those lingering issues, man, that can just go into the season. So, I doubt he's going to be available next Wednesday. He's going to be gone now. Is Justin Jackson? My question is, there is a guy that I actually like on their roster.
Yeah, I think
Justin Jackson is
I think we're
third, man, and that's what I'm like. I can see Justin Jackson getting the early down work, but goal line and anything on the other side of the field, and they're getting close to the red zone, I can see them going to Larry Roundtree. So it's kind of up in the air, man. I went ahead and did Justin Jackson because the coach actually came out and said that he was going to be ready for the game, and could be a diversion tactic, who knows, but that he was going to be used in the game plan. So that's why I went ahead and just picked him up in a couple of my leagues. But I actually like Larry Roundtree a little bit better.
Yeah, like I said, he was in consideration to be one of my picks. Was Larry Roundtree was because even with Eckler there, he was going to get the goal line work. But now with Eckler not there, he's going to get even more work, I'm sure. I could see him taking first down snaps and then having Justin Jackson take third downs. And then they'll split second, and he'll get the goal line work. So that's definitely an interesting situation. Pick up whichever one you believe in more. And then come next week, if they prove that Austin Eckler's actually got a serious injury, you've already got the top waiver claim. And if not, you've got a guy you can drop. It doesn't really – there's no negative effect to your team unless you're stacked right now and you don't have anyone you can drop. But if you do, I don't see how this could be a bad move for your team picking up one of these guys. Do you have any thoughts on the running back situation in Chicago or in Los Angeles right now, Will?
I think it might be the most interesting thing about LA football right now, to be honest with you. I mean, both teams, quarterbacks, defense. If you ask me what the hottest topic in LA outside of UCLA now being a top 20 team, and Chip Kelly's resurrection, it is the running backs for both teams, right? And that I don't know, man. I mean, I'm on the Rams. I'm feeling a little bit better because I have a little bit more faith in Stafford being able to carry the load a little more. I think the Chargers need a healthy running back. I think they need somebody who can bring balance to that offense. And I'm not sure the Rams really need that as much, but we'll see.
Yeah, I got more faith in Stafford if he needs to throw for 6,000 yards than Herbert throwing for 6,000 yards, just with the weapons Stafford has around him. And what he's proven in the past is he stay healthy. People have thrown around, will we see a 6,000-yard passer? And if we're going to see one this year, it's going to be Stafford. I don't think he'll get there, but now with the extra game, if he stays healthy, I think he could break the record for most passing yards in a season for sure. I think the mark right now is 54-77 or somewhere around there. So with the extra game, Stafford with the lack of a running game, Sony Michel and Darrell Henderson are going to be okay. But Sean McVay is going to make it happen in the passing game with all the weapons they have there. So we'll see. We'll see how that turns out. Going to my next guy who I think is going to have a great season that I still don't understand why he's not on people's rosters. I go with Tyrell Williams, the best wide receiver on a terrible team. Same argument I give for people to draft Brandon Cooks. He's going to see a lot of targets. He's fast. And Jared Goff has been known to throw a deep ball. Cooper Kupp did really good, and even Robert Woods on deep routes did good with Jared Goff. So Tyrell Williams being on a terrible team with a terrible defense. I'm excited to see what he can do. He has struggled with injuries, and he had a groin injury, but he was taken off, and he's not on their injury report, which means he's fully healthy and ready to go. I can't see a situation where he's not seeing 7 targets a game, and 7 targets for him are going to be – a couple of them are going to be deep, and if you connect on one for 30, 40 yards, you're going to be happy with him, and people are going to see this. He's going to put up 10, 15 points week 1, and everyone's going to want to have him on his team. You guys got any thoughts on Tyrell Williams?
I sure do, because he's on all of my fantasy rosters. All of them. And I look at it before the injuries. You know, he had a pretty decent season as a no-name with the Chargers. Phillip Rivers throwing the ball. And, you know, to me, looking at whose arm is a little bit stronger, I think Goff's arm is a little bit stronger than what Rivers' arm was. He was still on the downside of his career. And then, you know, with the Raiders, he was actually the wide receiver number 1 before he got hurt. And again, you know, I look at Carr, you know, maybe Goff is a little bit lesser version than Carr, but to me, the guy has proved that he can be a receiver that can be a number 1 when there's no other receivers around, which is what he's got.
This is how I know neither one of you are NFC North fans, because everybody in the NFC North is laughing hearing this. You could put, you could bring Megatron back and put Fitzgerald in his prime and Metcalf and Jefferson out there, and Goff still couldn't hit him. Look, dude, everything you look. If Goff was what everybody thinks he is, the Rams wouldn't have moved on, and that's the truth.
I think he's a bad quarterback.
The Rams understand the mistake they made signing him to that deal. And I there's a lot of decent talent on Detroit. The problem is Goff. And until Goff can put a 6 or 7 games together with the Detroit Lions, and as crazy as that coaching staff is, then I'll reconsider it. But if you have a roster spot,
he's going to throw. That's what I'm saying. He's going to throw. He's going to throw. He's going to throw to somebody. And I think
look, he may have more interceptions than touchdowns.
I don't care. They're going to be targeting Tyrell Williams. The Lions' defense is terrible. Their secondary is not good. They don't have great linebackers, and their defensive line is going to lack outside of Aquara. They're going to lack a pass rush. They're going to be letting up 35 points per game. They'll be at the end of the first quarter. They'll be down double digits, and for the rest of the game, Jared Goff is going to be allowed to just throw the ball. And if he connects on Tyrell Williams 2 or 3 times,
and I'm betting that
that's
Goff
10 points.
I bet Goff will have a greater completion percentage with the other team's defensive backs than he will with his own wide receiver.
Let me go ahead and say this. Let me say this. By no means am I saying that Goff is a great quarterback, but he is a decent quarterback. The thing is, I'm looking at Sean McVay just ran this dude through the dirt. He is like, I can do what I want to do.
Have you seen Detroit's coaching staff?
I have, but I'm going off of before. If you remember, Super Bowl year, the year before that, Goff was on his way up to being one of the young elite quarterbacks in the league. This last season was not his best at all. Sean McVay had an opportunity to get Matthew Stafford, and that just made his mind explode. This year is going to be more of an indictment on McVay than it is on Goff. He's in that same hot seat as Belichick right now. If for some reason,
I agree with you there.
Rams don't do anything, they're going to be on his butt.
The problem is, look, this is the problem for the Lions, is their offensive line is suspect. True. I can't pronounce the young man's name from Oregon, the tackle, who did not have a good training camp. How bad of a franchise do you have to be that you take the most perfect left tackle to come out in the draft in the last 10 years, and you've already destroyed him through 3 preseason games? I mean, seriously, guys, I was shocked to read that story last week, how concerned they are about his development at left tackle. If he's a bust and they have nobody else at left tackle, what do you think Daniel Hunter in Green Bay and Mack out of Chicago are going to do to Jared Goff. They're going to eat him for lunch.
The rest of their line is the strong point of their team, though.
Look, I get it. AFC East, I get NFC West. I'm telling y'all, anybody in the NFC North knows the Lions are who they are. And until they have
I believe you there. The Lions.
And so I'm just saying, so we're talking about I'm not saying Williams isn't a good wide receiver. I'm saying if you have one slot on your roster to pick up this week, I'm not sure I'm picking anybody up from Detroit.
I always go with number ones.
Yeah, the number one wide receiver on a team that's going to be throwing the ball.
Brandon Cook is 70. A better pickup. Brandon Cook's a better pickup.
Well, Brandon Cooks is getting drafted in the 9th round. Tyrell Williams is on your waiver wire. There's a discrepancy there. Obviously, I love Brandon Cooks, but the Lions don't have a trash offensive line. They have Taylor Decker, who's a great tackle. They have Frank Ragnow, who's arguably one of the best centers in the league, and they have Vaitai, who's not amazing, but that's the best part of their team. So even if Sewell's not great, they're still going to have a decent offensive line. And their running game, Swift's been hurt. No one's really excited about Jamal Williams. We know what he was in Green Bay. And as I said, their defense sucks so much that they're going to be throwing the ball 60, 70% of the time. And someone's going to have to be scoring those points, or not even points. Someone's going to have to be catching the balls. And because we know Jared Goff's not just going to complete no passes. He supported 3 years in a row. Robert Woods was a wide receiver 11, 14, and 13. And one of those years, Cooper Kupp was also the wide receiver 6. And that was Jared Goff throwing them the ball. Sure, it's in a different system, but that's still Jared Goff. He was able to get them the ball.
You can't compare those Ram teams to Detroit.
No, because Detroit's going to be throwing the ball times more.
Right, no, but they had a defense.
Yeah.
And they had multiple weapons of offense. And that's not who the Lions are.
No, but what I'm saying is Jared Goff isn't great, but he's not terrible. He's probably 20-25 range for overall for quarterbacks.
Hey,
which is going to be good enough to support a wide receiver that's going to finish in the top 30.
Yeah, what you guys are talking about Brandon Cooks. There's an argument there who's better between the quarterbacks that are going to be throwing to them, because I'm not sure about Tyrod Taylor throwing the ball to Brandon Cooks. I think I might rather have Jared Goff throwing the ball. And we know that line is suspect in Houston for sure. So I think Tyrod Taylor's going to be doing a lot more running than throwing.
I'm going to leave that alone. I'm just saying, as an NFC North fan.
Zach looked like he had something to say about that one.
I mean, the Texans, like, we're talking about these teams that are terrible, but neither of their offensive lines are actually garbage, because the Texans still have Laramie Tunsil. They brought in Marcus Cannon as well, and they still have Titus Howard. So they don't have a terrible offensive line either. As we're pointing out, the two of the worst teams in the league actually probably have top 20 offensive lines, which is rare to see that these teams have committed money to their offensive lines, which normally good teams do. And these two teams have managed to commit the money to their offensive lines and still be terrible because they can't put anything around them. And while we're on the topic of the Houston Texans here,
there you go.
I'm not going to transition quite yet, but while we're on topic of the Houston Texans here, they managed to be the 4th oldest team in the NFL, despite being in complete rebuild mode. And I'm not sure how you can manage to do that, because what has to be going on? You brought in your new GM, and he's just signed veterans that are average. They're not going to win you any games. He's really just capped off this team's ceiling, and he's made them a 3-win team max. Like, I just wanted to talk about that for a second, because we've seen teams rebuild, and to successfully rebuild, you have to get younger before you get older.
Once again, they're trying that Patriot way in a place where it's not going to work. That's the whole thing. Not even close.
I think Houston might be a 5-win team, to be honest with you.
I can't see them winning 5 games.
I think there's enough talent and savvy there to get 4 or 5 games. Tyrod Taylor's not a bad quarterback. I'll be honest with you. He's not a bad quarterback. And David Johnson, it is what it is, but he can put up good numbers this year. If he's healthy, he can put up good numbers.
We'll
But
find
he's
out
only
on
their third
Sunday.
down back.
Yes.
He's only playing on third downs.
But it's the same.
Philip
It's the same
Lindsay and Mark
argument.
Ingram.
It's the same argument with the Lions. If they're throwing the ball all the time, Johnson's not a third down back. He's a second, third down back. He might be a first, second, and third down back.
Yeah, until he
if
gets hurt.
they're throwing the ball.
So this is what's going to be interesting on Sunday because David Culley said they're building that team to run. He came from the Ravens, so this is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
And they're playing against Jacksonville, who has built their defense to stop the run.
Yeah.
So we're going to see what happens this Sunday. It's going to be very interesting.
Jeff, that might be an underrated game on Sunday. Truth be told.
True. I'm actually excited for it.
Yeah,
Jacksonville's defense.
One of my leagues has individual defensive players. I put Miles Jack on my team because I think Miles Jack might have freaking 10 tackles in that game.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, the Jacksonville's meant to go up against a run team, and by halftime, the Texans are going to be down, and they're going to be throwing the ball to Brandon Cooks. For the entirety of the second half, because they have Danny Amendola now that they just brought in another old veteran player who doesn't have a ceiling. Probably the best player on their offense outside of Laramie Tunsil is Brandon Cooks by far. So we're gonna see.
Or you'll have Davis Mills in the game because a doctor has punctured.
No, but Davis Mills has a high ceiling, and I think that's something the Texans are trying to stay away from right now with all their moves they made this offseason. They want high floor, low ceiling. So
they need to make sure Tyrod Taylor does not visit the team physician before the game starts.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to Will's next pick of Tony Pollard, the backup running back for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, and let me tell you, Dallas in their COVID compliance is a disaster. And if you're looking at the Cowboys, you have to think. I bet you they may lead the league in missed games with COVID. How are you rolling into Thursday night and having the chaos that they're having right now? And
Zach Martin being out.
So, honestly, if Zeke is on my team, I sure the heck have Pollard handcuffed.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm light at running back and I'm thinking, who can I stash on my roster that may pay off for me mid-season or late season, it's Pollard. Because these Cowboy players, if they're not, and it's not just Cowboys. There's a lot of teams. The Vikings have 10 or 12 key guys that are not vaccinated. That is not getting in that debate. But when you start looking at fantasy and how you got to stack your roster, I think the Cowboys, what's happened to the Cowboys this week, should make everybody really think and look. If I got a guy on my team that's key and not vaccinated, I need somebody on my roster that I can plug in if I have to. And if that guy's on a team where players aren't as compliant, I think Tony Pollard starts 3 or 4 games this year. The way the Cowboys are going.
And like you said, last year, the game where Zeke missed, Pollard played 90% of the snaps.
Yeah.
And they were playing against a good running defense in San Francisco, who allowed almost close to the least points to running backs, and he scored 28 points, 12 carries, 2 touchdowns, and 9 targets. He's a guy who can catch the ball out of the backfield as well. So if Zeke gets hurt, he's got pretty much the backfield to himself. Whereas even with Zeke's there, we could see Latavius Murray, Alvin Kamara, where if you need a running back to plug and play, bye weeks and stuff, Tony Pollard could still be that guy where he can get you 5 to 15 points in that range.
Mm-hmm.
And even games where he's had 40% of the snaps, he scored 11 points, 12 points, 23 points. Like, he's got the talent to be able to do it. He just needs the opportunity. And if Zeke goes down, for sure. And even if Zeke misses games due to COVID, as you said.
Look, it's interesting because the Cowboys have to make the decision with Pollard. Let's say the Cowboys aren't doing that well this year. They're just 500 team.
You're right.
At the trade deadline, Pollard to the Rams or a team that needs a running back that loses, like, let's say Baltimore's like, we need somebody. I'm not sure the Cowboys will say no to a second or third or fourth round pick at that point, because they're going to have to move Pollard at some point if they're going to stay with Zeke, or they're going to have to move Zeke. One of the two. Now, they won't move Zeke this year, but I could see them moving Zeke in the offseason, truth be told.
Yeah, I think, as we said, Pollard is a good running back, but will they be in a position where they're going to be winning now or moving on to the future? Because Zeke is on a huge contract, and Pollard's rookie deal will be coming to an end. So which one of them will they move on to? Because either way, they're going to be in good hands. If they want to trade Zeke after this offseason, they incurred $30 million in dead cap, which is going to be a problem. They'd have to go out after 2023 to incur an $11.5 million dead cap hit. So that's what it's going to come down to, is the cap numbers. It wouldn't make sense for them to get rid of Zeke if they're going to be paying for it, unless they can get a restructure done.
Yeah.
But currently he's under contract until 2027.
And Zach, if you're in a keeper league and you have a spot for Pollard,
yeah,
he has one more year on that rookie deal. If they're going to move him, it's going to be during the season, or they're going to be in the off season around the draft. And if you can get Tony Pollard next year for $965,000, and you're, I don't know, I'm trying to think what team, honestly, like Baltimore.
Well, even if a running back goes down mid-season, like a Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry goes down with an injury.
Yeah.
Now they need a running back. Injuries happen at the running back position all the time. Saquon Barkley goes down. Austin Eckler goes down. It doesn't matter. Yeah. These things are going to happen, and teams are going to need running backs. So guys like Tony Pollard, who are on a team where they aren't going to see the touches that they command, you could see them being moved. A situation where I could have seen with Latavius Murray, if he stayed on the Saints, he could have got moved depending on the injury situation. But now he can sign wherever he wants due to an injury if he wants to wait that long till he can get that big contract, or be in a place if he wants to earn a big contract after this season. He could wait until an injury happens so he gets that position to be successful. So that's something we're going to have to monitor there. Let's move on to Jeff's last guy here. Gabriel Davis, the Buffalo Bills wide receiver.
Yep. I was surprised to see him on some waiver wire still. If there are any questions about Diggs' knee, he's shown to have a good rapport with Josh Allen. I saw that in the preseason. And kid is young, he's good. On the opposite side, you're looking at Emmanuel Sanders, who's getting a little bit long in the tooth. I think this guy he's got huge upside. Huge upside. You got Stephon Diggs missing the whole preseason because of his knee issue. So we don't know if it's 100%. We don't know where he's at. But we do know that Josh Allen is a guy that's going to throw the ball. They basically don't have a real running game in Buffalo at all. So Josh Allen's going to throw the ball. And it's going to go to Gabriel Davis, I believe. And even if Diggs is facing double teams and things, this kid, man, he's a player. So I just see a lot of upside there, for a last pick, or if he's on a waiver wire and you need somebody that's kind of reliable. I'm looking at guys picking up like Terrace Marshall Jr. and a couple other rookies, Rondale Moore with the Cardinals, and I'm just kind of like, this dude is proven in the league already. I like Terrace Marshall Jr., but even Elijah Moore with the Jets. You got these guys, and they've got like a pretty crowded wide receiver core with the Jets. But I'm just like, this guy is going to get some targets. He's getting more and more trust from Josh Allen. He's just got more upside to me.
Yeah, I think he's got the upside there, but the upside is limited with Stephon Diggs still being there. Cole Beasley is still going to get his 10 targets a game, which takes away from some of the upside and the targets that he could be seeing. Beasley's obviously struggled with COVID, so I was honestly surprised he's still on the team.
That's the other
but the fact that he is still on the team, he's a good wide receiver. I think he pairs perfectly with Stephon Diggs. So Gabriel Davis is going to be the third or fourth target on his team. which comes into play the same situation where I feel like a guy like Rondale Moore might have the bigger upside because he could be the second target on the team behind DeAndre Hopkins.
Mhm.
If
Possibly.
Yeah, possibly. That's what I'm saying. We're talking about
Yeah.
upside here. So I think Rondale Moore's upside is higher than Gabriel Davis's upside because I don't think season long, unless an injury to Stephon Diggs happens, he could be the wide receiver 2 on that team. Whereas I could see Rondale Moore coming in, AJ Green disappointing, and now Rondale Moore, if he can get that rapport going with Kyler Murray, he's automatically the wide receiver 2 on that team.
Yeah, I don't know because you still got Christian Kirk there too, and that's who they're talking
But
about.
Christian Kirk has had his opportunity.
I know, but
Seasons, and he
he's
hasn't.
still there. He's still on that
there
roster.
because he's
They're
on his
talking
rookie
about
contract.
starting in the slot.
Yeah,
What's
because he's
that?
on his rookie contract though, so they're not going to get. There's no point in cutting him because you still have a good wide receiver depth piece in case Hopkins get hurt.
Right
But the
now, he's
Rondale
starting
Moore
in
there,
the slot.
I think scary. Elijah Moore, another guy where you don't really know what's going on in New York.
Exactly.
It's going to be whatever guy Zach Wilson picks. I think Jamison Crowder should still be the number 1 target on that team. I know that is a very unpopular opinion because everyone's really high on Corey Davis and Elijah Moore. But Jamison Crowder has been a guy for me where people have just been kind of sleeping on him over the past few seasons, where he's been a great wide receiver for the Jets. But no one's really paid attention because he's on the Jets. He actually burnt me last year in my fantasy football championship. I had Alvin Kamara go off for almost 60 points. And I put Le'Veon Bell in my flex over Jamison Crowder, and that was a mistake because Crowder scored 28 points that week. But it was an interesting story. But I've always loved Crowder being in that position where he demands the targets. So if Zach Wilson decides that Elijah Moore is his guy, he could be the number 1 wide receiver on the Jets. And that's why I think people are taking those guys for upside. After week 1, you can tell, okay, Elijah Moore is not the guy, get rid of him, or Elijah Moore is the guy, whereas Gabriel Davis is going to be a season-long play. So do you want to keep someone like that on your bench when it could be filled with a guy that, even if we go back to a Tony Jones, a Latavius Murray, Tony Pollard, or Justin Jackson, you're pretty much going to know week 1 what you got, except for Tony Pollard. But you're going to know what you got. This guy's going to see the target, so this guy's not. And I think Gabriel Davis is a season-long play. So in a dynasty league with a deeper bench, I would look at it. If you're playing with a small bench, I can't see his way into being a top fantasy option on the Buffalo Bills.
A breakout is coming this year.
We'll see. We'll see.
I
can't see it happening. But let's get into our social media post of the week. This is something I saw on Twitter, and it's just a nice story. An undrafted player who's reaching out to his fans, and he's really trying to connect with the fans. He changed his jersey number. Obviously, we're talking about James Robinson. He changed his jersey number from 30 to 25. And he wants to thank everyone for his support. He's changing his jersey number, and he wants to sign any of the number 30 jerseys. As a guy who was undrafted last year, he kind of broke out. I know that there was a lot of people who picked him up in fantasy and rode him to a championship. So this was something I love to see because now he's connecting with his fans, and being an undrafted guy, he never really had those high expectations. People were counting him out. So he came from a place where he understands that all this fan support, it's not something to take for granted, whereas other athletes kind of do take that for granted. So this is something I love to see, and I love to see him reaching out, especially with the jersey number changing and all the rules. There were so many players that changed their jersey numbers this year, but he was really the first one I saw reach out to all of his fans to give them something back for supporting him.
Just the disrespect this kid faced, man. Again, them drafting ETN and everything, man. I'm just like, man, how much more can you dump on this guy? And then you find out he's just a class great guy.
Yeah.
I never want to wish anybody to get hurt, especially Travis Etienne. I actually like him. I wanted the Seahawks or somebody like that to pick him up if they didn't sign Chris Carson. I'm just glad that he gets a chance to really prove his worth once again.
Yeah.
Show all these guys who just kicked him to the curb after he had an amazing year last year. They just kind of dropped him for the new shiny toy that came out that was drafted in the second round. It's just horrible. I can't believe they did that to him, man. But oh well.
Yeah, I think he's coming into a situation now where people were like, I don't want James Robinson. He's going to be the backup running back on the Jaguars. And now he's in the same position he was in last year where he's going to see a majority of the touches in that backfield. And he is only under contract to next year, the 2022 season, and then it'll be a restricted free agent. So if he proves again this year, the Jaguars are going to have to make a decision whether do they want to keep James Robinson because they're going to have to pay him if he shows up again this year, or do they trade him away because they're going to get great value in a trade for him, or great value for a running back's not going to be amazing, but he's going to be going into his second year this year, so this is when running backs have the trade value, especially since he doesn't get paid much. I think his cap hit because he was undrafted is $780,000 this year and $895,000 next year. Yeah. So low cap hit. If he shows out this year, next year, a team looking for a running back, say Cam Akers, looks like his problem is his recovery. The Rams could look for a guy like that. Or even a team with their running back they think they're going to be leaving if the Giants decide Saquon Barkley is not going to be their guy for the future because they don't want to pay him. They could bring in James Robinson for less money because I don't think James Robinson is going to try and demand all the money in the world like other players do. And I think he's just down to earth, and that's something that I love to see from the NFL players who are living other people's dreams.
Yeah.
And a guy like that not taking advantage of it it makes him easier to connect to as a fan. Especially for younger fans as well. Seeing guys like that, if you're a young teenager, like 13, whatever, you just bought a James Robinson jersey, you're going to be super upset that he's changing his number. But he's going to sign that jersey now. That kid's going to be a James Robinson fan for life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just really good to see him reaching out and expanding his fan base.
Yeah. That's class act all around. And the NFL needs to highlight those stories more.
Yeah. Exactly. I saw it, and I barely saw anyone post about it. Yeah. I just caught a glimpse of it on Twitter because one of the accounts I followed retweeted it. But yeah, the NFL, no one's talking about it. Everyone's more focused on Le'Veon Bell and that kind of stuff. And I wanted to make sure we touched on the good aspects of the NFL because that's something that people don't tend to see with all the domestic cases and the drug and gun charges and all that stuff that happens in the NFL that gets the media attention sometimes. The good things do go unnoticed, which is one good thing about the Walter Payton Man of the Year award.
Well, maybe if he sees this, never know, he will use the media app to share with people that he was doing that because it is like you guys said, it's a great story and he's a class act and Jacksonville's lucky to have him. The community's lucky to have him there. Yeah. And honestly, if he becomes a free agent or tradable, any team should be looking for him because that's the type of players you want to build around your team because that's the guy who's good in the locker room, good in the community, helps you sell tickets, makes fans want to support the team. You know,
even if he's going to be splitting carries with someone, I kind of think of him because he can be a great running back, but even as he gets later on in his career, being this kind of guy, he reminds me of a Mark Ingram type player where Mark Ingram was on the Ravens. And he was the glue in that locker room, and I think James Robinson can be that guy where he can be great in the community.
Place for him too. If he does not, if they need to get rid of him, he doesn't even have to go that far. He could go right to Miami. Brian Flores says he wants high character players. There he is. If Gaskins doesn't work out, there's
I could see that for sure. I'd love to see him in Miami and be the guy. I think that'd be ideal for James Robinson.
He'd go to Atlanta. He wouldn't go.
After Mike Davis goes.
Great pickup for Atlanta, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they'll finish bottom 10 again this year. They'll draft a quarterback this year. If they can pair James Robinson, a rookie quarterback, and Kyle Pitts with Calvin Ridley already on that team.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's another offense for the ages, like
Yeah.
the Matt Ryan, Julio Jones for
Yeah.
1,800 yards. But I want to thank everyone for watching, and I want to thank you guys for joining the show again. And football starts tomorrow. I'm super excited. I know you guys are as well. And we'll be back next week with another show, and we will have some football to actually talk about for once. Go Panthers!
Hey, Dak, before we go, real quick. So what's everybody's game for this weekend? What are they watching? What's the game? One game they want to see this weekend?
I'm watching the Panthers and the Jets game. I want to see Zach Wilson. I want to see Sam Darnold. There's so much going on between those two organizations. You got Robbie Anderson going back home. Sam Darnold's going back home. The Jets have a completely new team. Exactly. And I'm a Panthers fan, so that works out well too. But I'll come up with another one, and I'll let you guys go around and say which one you're going to watch here.
2 games. My Hawks. Go Hawks versus the Colts. I think it's going to be a good test for them.
Yeah.
And then Steelers versus the Bills. That's going to be the clash of the Titans right there.
Mm-hmm.
Vikings, Bengals.
Yeah. You guys get to play the Hello Kids.
I had someone in my comment section today saying how the Bengals are definitely going to beat the Vikings.
Look, I think people better be careful about the Bengals. It's one of those teams that can go either way. The Bengals could go either way. They could either be really good or they could be really bad.
Joe Burrow's going to take a couple weeks to get back from that injury, though. Yeah. He's going to be skittish in the pocket, and that's going to benefit the Vikings greatly with Danielle Hunter coming off the edge. So I think the Vikings will definitely win that one. You got another game you're looking forward to?
No, I was going to say what Jamar Chase said about Pat Pete. He said,
there's some good storylines for that game. Yes. But Jeff took the one game I was going to say, but I'm going to throw out there the Dolphins in New England.
Yep, that's one game I was thinking about.
That could be a really interesting game from a fantasy perspective. And just what's the AFC East doing?
Right. Yeah, both Alabama quarterbacks.
I think Miami wins that game.
I do
Miami
too.
Wins that game, and I think it shows the league that the AFC is truly like the Patriots may be on the downhill slope and full rebuild.
Yeah, it's the battle of the Alabama quarterbacks. I think if Cam Newton was playing this game, the Patriots win. But since it's going to be Mac Jones, the Dolphins' a great defense. I think Brian Flores is going to pick apart the rookie. So I can see the Dolphins winning that game. And if I'm going to pick another game that I'm going to watch this week, it's going to be the Chiefs and Browns. I want to see the new-look Browns defense with the addition of John Johnson. They also brought in Jadeveon Clowney. So they could have a very scary defense again. And they were competitive last year in the playoffs against the Chiefs. So what are we going to see in that game? Because if the Browns win that game, people start jumping on the bandwagon that I think the Browns are an AFC contending team.
Yeah.
But if they beat the Chiefs, people are going to start hopping on that bandwagon too, where the Browns are the new hotness. So we're going to have to watch and see how that game plays out for sure.
Very true.
Definitely.
All right. Well, I hope you guys tune in again next week, and we're out.
All right. Bye, guys.